For centuries, the true location of ancient Jerusalem, the city of Salem, Jebus, or the city of David, remained hidden under layers of history. It was believed that biblical Jerusalem was located on the current Mount Zion or within the walls of the Old City. But in 1867, a revolutionary discovery changed everything. The man responsible was Captain Charles Warren, a British officer sent by the Palestine Exploration Fund. Warren ventured beyond the southern walls of the Old City to excavate on a seemingly insignificant hill known as Wadi Hilwe. As he dug into the rocky terrain, he discovered a network of tunnels, walls, and foundations, evidence of an ancient settlement much older than the structures within the Old City. Most surprising was his finding of a deep shaft leading to a water system, now known as Warren's Shaft, which once provided access to the Gihon Spring, Jerusalem's vital water source. Warren's work transformed biblical archaeology, demonstrating that the oldest Jerusalem had been hidden in plain sight all along. Located south of what is now the Temple Mount, this narrow ridge was the first settlement of Jerusalem. Turned out to be a surprisingly small place, with only 4.8 hectares, 12 acres. At the very heart of Jerusalem's existence lies its most essential element: water. The city's location was determined by the Gihon Spring, its only natural source of fresh water, because without water, there is no life. This vital spring not only sustained the city's first inhabitants, but also laid the foundation for one of history's most remarkable engineering feats, Hezekiah's Tunnel. Stretching 533 meters, 1,750 feet, this ancient tunnel was carved into solid rock to channel the waters of the spring to the Pool of Siloam, ensuring a secure water supply for the city. Two teams of diggers, working from opposite ends, managed to meet in the center, although exactly how they achieved this remains a mystery. An even greater enigma is the tunnel's winding path. If it had been dug in a straight line, it would have been 1/3 shorter, requiring far less effort, time, and resources. Crucial savings, since they knew they faced an attack from the most fearsome and mighty army of their time. But despite its twists and turns, the tunnel fulfilled its ultimate purpose: to bring the essential waters of life to Jerusalem. This wave of revolutionary discoveries gave new impetus to the search. The unexpectedly small size of the city of David, the presence of its only freshwater source, and the mysterious curve in Hezekiah's tunnel, could these elements help pinpoint the final resting place of Israel's most famous king? Hezekiah's tunnel, a marvel of ancient engineering. But its strange curve, does it hide a secret? In 1887, the French diplomat Charles Clermont-Ganneau proposed a bold theory. Basing his idea on biblical texts, he suggested that the curve was not an accident, but rather an intentional detour to avoid the tombs of David and his descendants, or to avoid their ritual impurity. The theory sparked intense debate. Was it possible? Or was the curve simply due to geological challenges or engineering decisions? In the mid-1890s, Frederick Jones Bliss and Archibald Campbell, Dickey set out to test the theory with the help of the PEF. They excavated south of the curve, in an area that would later be known as the King's Garden. But the tombs did not appear. In the early 20th century, the search found a new patron, Baron Edmund de Rothschild. Rothschild, passionate about biblical history, purchased land in the city of David on both sides of the tunnel's curve. He was determined to solve the mystery. Although the excavation permit was granted to Clermont-Ganneau, he remained in Paris, leaving the fieldwork in the hands of Raymond Weil, a Jewish-French Egyptologist. The first excavation led by a Jewish archaeologist in Jerusalem, and in the whole land of Israel. Between 1913 and 1914, Weil excavated north of the southern curve of the tunnel. Time had been harsh to the site. After the destruction of the temple, intensive quarrying had erased as much as 3 meters, 10 feet of the hilltop. But even so, Weil made extraordinary discoveries. Remains of ancient walls, ritual pools, cisterns, and even a circular tower, a columbarium. And also, the famous Theodotos inscription, an ancient inscription in Greek that spoke of a synagogue built for the study of scripture and the hospitality of pilgrims. The first archaeological evidence of synagogues in Jerusalem before the destruction of the temple. But for Raymond Weil, and for many scholars after him, his most important discoveries were others. 9 chambers carved into the rock north of the tunnel's curve, which Weil identified as tombs of the royal necropolis of King David. He labeled them T1 through T8, with T9 located further south. Of all of them, T1 was the most elaborate. Although its facade was damaged by quarrying activity, the internal structure of T1 remains impressive. A long vaulted tunnel carved into the rock, 16.5 meters, 54 feet long, 2.5 meters, 8 feet wide, with a height that varies from 4 meters, 13 feet, at the entrance to 2 meters, 6 feet, inside. At some point, the tomb was modified. The floor of the first 10 meters, 32 feet, was lowered, increasing the height. A new door was built, a small staircase, long horizontal grooves in the walls. Do they indicate an artificial floor, which divided the chamber into 2 levels, or perhaps the base of a vaulted ceiling? And further along the tunnel, more grooves. Do they suggest burials in stepped levels? At the rear of the tunnel, a rectangular depression carved into the floor, 1.8 meters long, 1.2 meters wide, 30 centimeters deep. Weil found remains of masonry walls on the edges and a blackish coating. He proposed 2 phases. First, an Iron Age sarcophagus, then transformed into a bathtub in the Second Temple period. Today, only the depression carved into the rock remains. Was it really a sarcophagus, or did it have another purpose? Weil did not document T2 with the same detail. We know that the tunnel extends almost 8.5 meters long, but the quarry marks at the entrance suggest that the original structure was much larger, perhaps up to 30 meters, 100 feet. Raymond Weil was convinced. He had found the royal tombs of the House of David. And for many years, his theory was widely accepted. The site became a tourist attraction, visited by thousands of people. But as archaeology advanced, and more elaborate necropolises from the First Temple period were discovered, skepticism began to grow. And with the rise of the minimalist school, which questioned the historicity of the Bible, the site was gradually dismissed. What was once a prominent attraction fell into oblivion. Today, the area within the city of David is largely abandoned, neglected, rarely visited. In the 1960s, archaeologist Kathleen Kenyon, a key figure of archaeological minimalism, addressed the controversy.
The contentious point is the cutouts that Weil identified as the royal tombs of the House of David. Biblical evidence that David and his heirs were buried in Jerusalem has spurred many fanciful searches and identifications, including that of the so-called Tomb of David, on display to tourists today. The particular cutouts revealed by Weil were certainly unusual, consisting of 2 rock-cut tunnels side by side. They do not resemble any observed cistern, although the plaster covering the rock shows that they were once used as cisterns.
Archaeologist Ronnie Reich, who excavated in the city of David, goes further. He argues that these spaces carved into the rock are dwellings from the Second Temple period, not royal tombs. But the debate is not closed. Other archaeologists defend the possibility that they are tombs. Throughout time, many widely accepted theories have been reconsidered or refuted in light of new evidence. The Tel Dan Stele, the copper mines in Timna, the Ketef Hinnom scrolls, Khirbet Keyafa. The renowned archaeologist Benjamin Mazar always believed that these structures were tombs, and David Usishkin, an authority on First Temple tombs, concluded that Weil's T1 and T2 were, in all probability, tombs.
Own a piece of biblical history. Carry with you the priestly blessing, the oldest biblical text ever discovered. Direct from the city of David, each purchase of its unique products directly supports the biblical archaeological excavations and discoveries in the cradle of Jerusalem. Visit store.cityofdavid.org.il and use my code CODG1001 to get your discount and help unearth biblical history.